شاحن عند التلفزيون.
طفي الشاحن عند التلفزيون.
اشحنيه.
نسيت اقول الدعاء قبل الموت.
حافظ
لا الدعاء قالوا لي عشان الدولة المساعدة.
يلا.
Welcome back. Yes, hello, Miss Noha. Okay, do you have something with the? Can't you use the microphone, Miss Noha?
يعني أقوم.
Okay, so again, welcome back.
Welcome.
Yeah, we will. You are not muted. You can use the mic. It's okay. Miss Noha. Okay, so again, we welcome back. We stopped at. Okay, Miss Noha, waiting for you. Okay. We stopped at task-based learning, and we know the difference between task and an exercise in the.
كان السؤال جنة من اللي رن يا ماما يا شاذة.
Okay, so let's start over. We stopped at TBL, task learning, and we said that the word task means something that is related to real life situation. Okay, when I ask my students to give a presentation in front of the classroom, so this is a task. To plan a holiday, summer holiday, or plan a journey, so it's a task. Okay, so this is the meaning of the word task. Okay, so again, this model or lesson planning model, it has again 3 stages like PPP. Okay, we have 3 stages here again. Okay, the first one is pre-task, the second one is task cycle, and the third one language focus and feedback. Okay, so again, in this model, lesson planning model, we have 3 stages. Number 1, pre-task, number 2, task cycle, and number 3, language focus and feedback. Okay, the first one, pre-task. Trying to admit all.
What happened?
Yes, I'm here, Alia. Okay. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm here. Okay. So the first one is pre-task. Yeah, no, we don't have a problem. It's okay. So yeah, I'm trying. The same problem is I'm trying to maximize the screen, but it stops. I don't know why. Okay. So the first stage is pre-task. Pre-task means the teacher gives an introduction to the topic and give the students the instruction that help them to do the task, okay? For example, you will work in teams, you will work in groups, you will work in pairs. You have, for example, 15 minutes to do this task. And here the students should be interested in the task, interested in doing the task. And sometimes the teacher gives the students a model. For example, I'd like to ask my students to give a presentation about Egypt, for example. So I can show them a video about Egypt. I give them a written text about Egypt, or lesson, a track about Egypt. So I give them a model. It can be in this stage. I give them a model to do like that, okay? So again, pre-task, the teacher here give an introduction to the topic or the task, and give the instructions in a clear way to the students, how they will work in pairs, in groups, in teams, how much time, okay? And what exactly they are going to do in this task, okay? This is the first part, which is pre-task. The second part, task cycle. The task cycle, we have, yes, the students work together to plan the task. What are they going to do? And they give a report to the teacher and their colleagues in the classroom, okay? For example, you will give a presentation about Egypt, so they will work together. It can be in pairs, in teams, or in groups. They will have some steps while doing the task. And after they have finished, they give their presentation in front of the classroom or to their colleagues, okay, in the classroom. So this is for task cycle. It's all about the task itself, students are doing the task, planning, what are they going to do? And at the end, of course, they will give a report. The report, it can be a presentation, it can be a written text, it can be oral or written, okay? This is the second part.
What is asked from them?
Yeah, that's right. So if I ask them to give a written text, it's okay, they will do that. If I ask them to stand up, one of them, of course, one of them will stand in the front of the classroom in oral way, so it's okay. So I give them the instructions how to do that. Yes, that's okay, Teresa.
Should it be done during the class time?
Yeah, that's right. It's a good question. Yes, it can be done during the class time if it is okay. It doesn't have more than 15 minutes, for example. But if it has, if they have to do that in more than 1 hour, for example, it takes a lot of time. So it can be done over more than one lesson. Yes, Teresa, yeah. So yes, it's not necessary to do that during the lesson itself. It can be done in 2 lessons, 3 lessons, 2 days, a week, according to the task itself. Yes, yeah, that's right. Yes. And yes, and the third stage, language focus and feedback. Of course, the teacher gives them feedback about the task, and if he wants to practice the grammatical structure, for example, or the vocabulary, anything that he feels that the students have problem with, he in this stage, the teacher can do extra practice to help the students, yeah, and they can do the task again. So again, in this third stage, it's all about the teacher. The teacher here feedback and try to give students feedback that they correct themselves, or try the task again, okay? Or compare what they did with the model that I have already given them in the first stage. Yes, Teresa, go ahead.
Their colleagues' feedback, is it from the task cycle or the last stage?
Okay, let's imagine that the report that the students have to give for their colleagues. Okay, for example, group 1 will give a report to group B. So here's the feedback between the students themselves. But if the students have to give a report in front of the classroom, the whole class, so we can ask students to give feedback and
لا ما تجيبش بعمل لك ايه.
okay, and the teacher can give feedback, but it's supposed to be the teacher. But why not if I give my students a chance to peer correction, for example? Why not? Yes, it's okay.
I'm talking about to which stage does it belong? Does it belong to the cycle, task cycle, or the third cycle, the third stage?
The third.
The third,
Yes, because in the third stage, I have to give them feedback. It's supposed to be the teacher's feedback, but why not? I give my students a chance to give feedback to their colleagues or their friends. Yes, yes, a good question. Yes, the third stage. So here I give feedback in the third one, because in the task cycle, the second stage, the students work together. Pair work, group work, teams, so they work together. And we don't have a chance here for feedback. So the feedback will be in the third stage. Yes, Teresa, thank you for this question. Yes, yes, that's right, Ms. Noha, thank you. Okay, so here we have 3 stages of TBL, task-based learning. Because the screen stopped, I'll share it again. Okay. Here we have an example again. Okay, here we have an example which is task-based learning. It's all about a story. I ask my students to tell a story, okay? So the task here, the first stage, which is task, is the teacher tell a student that you will do a task about a story. So this is the task. Task cycle, the task itself, learners prepare a story. He will talk about the characters and the events, what each each character does in the story, okay? And the report, one of the students, if it is per work teams or group, one of them will go and report the class about the story, okay? And the last one, language focus and feedback, the teacher provides any relevant feedback about the language to the students while doing the task, okay? So here, can you notice that the language itself comes at the last end of the task? Again, the teacher focus on the language, not in the beginning, not in the middle, okay? It comes at the end, not at the first, like PPP.
I think
Yes.
I think that's because the task-based learning it is a second step of teaching.
What do you mean?
I don't know to explain myself, but I mean it is a way to express something has been learned before.
Yeah, okay. But in fact, task-based learning doesn't mean that to use it. For example, Teresa, if I have already explained the past simple tense, okay? Or if I don't explain it, it's okay to use task-based learning in 2 cases, by the way. Okay, it's not really.
How can we use?
How can
we use it if it is not something we have just taught?
Yeah, that's right. This is the point. So here I have to ask them to, for example, write a story before teaching the past simple tense. Why? Because in this stage, the last one, I have to focus on the past simple tense and explain it. Why? to be memorable. Because when while
So it is inductive way to teach grammar.
yeah, that's right. It's inductive way to teach grammar, but the focus on the language comes later on, not in the very beginning. So after the student,
It is inductive.
Yes,
So it is the focus at last stage.
that's right. So here I give my students a chance to notice what did they did, but in not a good way. So you did a task, yes, but now we have to focus on the language that you didn't use it in a right way. Here it will be memorable because the students notice the mistake, their mistakes, and the teacher focus on this mistake, okay? While giving feedback, I mean. Okay, so this is
It will be explaining, not feedback.
If I have much time in the class.
that's right, yes. This is the point. It takes much time in the class because in the first part and the second part, the task and task cycle, I didn't focus on the grammar. I didn't focus on the language. When can I focus on the language? After the presentation and while giving feedback. Yes, it takes a lot of time. Yes, and this is one of the disadvantages of task-based learning. Because the students may, they don't know the language that they use in the task, okay? So it gives a lot of time. Because here in the feedback, the teacher begins to explain. It's supposed to use the past simple tense, okay? And focus on that.
So it may be suitable for homework.
Suitable for?
Suitable for homework.
As a homework or something that they
Like an assignment?
yeah, something that they do at home, yes. As I said, it can be done through days, through weeks, okay? Not only in the same lesson. Yes, you are right, yes. Yes, Alia, I think you want to add something?
تقريبا دي
I was
مرة
adding
بندخل. يعني هي بتعملها على بتعمل دايما 3 مرات.
who's
Sorry, Teresa, I didn't get your point.
Sorry, I had a phone call. What?
Yes.
My point at the task, the learning.
Again, your point is?
I'm trying to tell you at any way, if it is an inductive way to teach, the teacher's feedback will be an explanation for the first time. It won't be a feedback. It will be explanation.
Yeah, it will be explanation.
He is waiting for this stage to explain.
Yeah.
It was his way to introduce his grammar, his explanation.
Yeah, that's right. But it's all about what they did on the task. Okay, so his work
according to what he asked them to do.
Yeah, that's right.
It is
yeah, yes, yeah, okay.
it may be a tool to measure their standard.
Their level, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that.
Yeah, yes.
Maybe
Okay,
something a tool.
Yeah, that's right. I think this will happen, Alia, yes, to assess their level. If I have already explained the lesson and now it's time for practice and you have a task. So you will give a presentation about anything. After the presentation, I'll give you a feedback. So here I can measure or assess their level. If I have already taught that before, okay? But if do you want that it's the first time to teach it? Yes, I can do that. If I want to decide at which point I have to start, okay? For example, I have to explain, as we said in the very beginning of the session, I have to explain present perfect to continuous. So I can do this task to know if my students already knowing the present perfect or not. Okay?
It's reminding me with the flipped learning.
Yeah, something like that, yes, because students, yeah, do a task and at the end, I give them feedback. Yes, yeah. Okay. Okay, so these are the stages of task-based learning, okay? Pre-task, task cycle, and language focus and feedback. We have to check what they know, yes, okay. So, this is the second model, okay? Remember the first model?
PPP.
What's the first model?
PPP.
PPP, and the second model? Task,
PBL.
PBL.
and in fact, yes, and no, that's right. In fact, we have advantages and disadvantages of TBL. I think you noticed some of the disadvantages while speaking about TBL. Can we do that together? What are the disadvantages of TBL?
It needs much time.
Yes, perfect. It takes much time. Perfect. Yes, that's right. Okay. Is it suitable for the lower learners? Yes, that's right.
No.
It takes much.
Absolutely, he can.
Not suitable for.
Yeah, it's not suitable for the young, yes, the low learners. Yes.
The lower learning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And he.
It can be. Maybe the task to draw and color something to present the colors.
Okay. Yes, but I mean here the lower learners tend to like that everything is clear and give me the rule at the very beginning, and I don't want to elicit or work out the meaning. This is what I mean. Yeah, I think the lower learners need something that is very clear, okay? But if the task is clear enough, as you said, just coloring a picture or just
to teach colors, yes, according to the task, the topic.
Yeah, it's related to vocab more than yes, grammar or the language. Yes, you are right, Teresa. Yes. Okay. Okay. What do you think about the advantages? I think it has some benefits.
Creative.
Sure,
Teamwork.
yes, creative.
Sure. Yes. Yeah, that's right. And is it teacher centered or learner centered?
Learner centered.
Of course, it's learner centered because I think most or the focus here is on the task and the planning and giving a report. It's all about the students and not the teacher. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the second model. And in fact, here we have wonderful activities that you can use using this model. TBL, task-based learning, in fact. And the first one, which is brainstorming, I will say them quickly. Number one, brainstorming. To list all the family members they know. Okay, so they will make a list. They do brainstorming. Okay, and here after that I can give them feedback about what the member that they know and what the member that they don't know. So I can decide that they know father, mother, brother, sister, but they don't know cousin, grandfather, grandmother, and so on. Okay?
No, that's so good.
Ordering and classifying. Order from most important to least important. For example, and classifying to divide a set of vocabulary, for example, into two columns. We have something like that in Brave One, I can remember, to divide the family members into two columns, males and females, okay? This is number 2, ordering and classifying. Number 3, problem solving. And I love this activity. For example, some students, as a teacher, I can play a track about a family, story about a family. And students, while listening to the story, try to know how they are related to each other. For example, who is Ali's father? Who is Mona's mother? And so on. Okay, so this is an example of problem solving. Sharing personal experience. For example, as you said, Teresa, draw a family tree of their own families. And to compare the families with each other. I have 2 sisters, but my friend has 1 sister, and so on. Creative task, when I give my students separate or individual pictures in a certain sequence, and they have to write a story about these pictures. So this is a and one life. Go ahead. Yes, Teresa, go ahead.
By the way, there is a task at the end of each unit at the new curriculum.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Family tree and something like this. Draw a face using materials at home.
That's right. The most
There is a
important.
task at the end of each unit.
Yeah, that's right. I love that you said that, but the most important thing is that when I ask my students to do this task or this project, I have to encourage them to give a report, how to give a presentation in front of the classroom, show and tell. Okay, what is the meaning of telling him or her to draw a picture of the family, and I take just that, what did they do, and put it away. I have to ask my students to give a presentation to show what did they do, and why not I give them a feedback. Okay,
We are videoing them, not only a presentation.
yes, yeah, that's right. Okay, so I think it's really it's a good idea, and I think our students, not only our students, love the idea to do something and show that to my teacher and show that to my students in the classroom. Okay, so this is the second model. So here we have 2 models, PPP and TPL. Okay, let's move to test, teach, test. Okay, test, teach, test. It's a model that works with the teacher who wants to improve or revise a part of the curriculum or a unit, for example. So I have finished the first unit in the book. So I'd like to know what is going well and what is the thing that don't go well. So I use this lesson planning model, test, teach, test. Okay? And we have a wonderful example here. It's a language form. I'll explain what is happening here, and I'd like to know your idea about this model. Okay? The teacher here hands out the forms in the classroom and ask students to ask questions in pairs. For example, what's your name? What's your nationality? What's your date of birth? When were you born? And so on. Okay. After that, the teacher goes through the classroom and monitors the students and notes any mistakes that they have done. Okay. And after that, he gives students more practice on the mistakes he has noticed or observed it, okay? And ask the students to do the activity again, okay? So again, we have 3 stages, test, teach, test. And here we have an example. The teacher here wants to check that his learners or her learners can form WH question. For example, using what, when, how, okay? After after giving them the form and asking them to do that in pair work, ask each other questions, okay? I go through the classroom, note what are the mistakes, what's going well, and the thing is that don't go well. After that, I give practice, more practice, something like feedback, and I ask students to do the activity again. Maybe, yeah, maybe in a different way. I can ask them to change the find another form to ask.
Change what?
Change the form. So this is I did the form by myself. So now change the question.
كان عامية وترشح.
Mute everyone, please.
Okay. Okay. So again, I'm so sorry for that, but I'd like to explain it again. Okay. So again, the third model is test, teach, test. And here I have an example of a lesson plan. Okay. Here the teacher wants to check that my students can ask WH questions: when, where, what, and so on. Okay, so what did this teacher do? He bring a form in the classroom and hands out the form to the students. He asks the students to work in pairs to ask and answer questions according to this form. The teacher goes through the lesson and observe the mistakes, what is going well, and the thing that don't go well. After that, the teacher give feedback or extra practice according to what he has noticed, okay, or observe it, okay? And again, he asks the student to do this activity again, okay? And in this example, the teacher can ask them to use another form. They design their own form and ask about this form in pairs again. Okay, so after doing the task or the activity, the teacher gave extra practice according to what he has noticed. And after that, he asked the students to do the activity again. Okay, here we have a form. According to this form, the students ask questions in pairs and the teacher take notes. If everything goes well, it's okay, okay? But if something wrong, what should I do? I give extra practice, or I ask students to correct themselves or correct the mistakes of their friends in the classroom, peer correction or self-correction. After that, I ask students to do the activity again, maybe in a different way, maybe using the same form or using another form. This is what I mean, okay? So if you have any questions about this example. If you have any questions about this example. Yes, Alia?
It's so clear.
Okay, so here I'll ask you some questions, okay? So why would the teacher follow this approach? He used test, teach, test model. Can you guess why?
Collect the data, like the example before.
Hey, Teresa, again, here, okay, I'll say that again, okay? Here, the teacher wants to review a part of the curriculum, for example, a unit. So I have finished unit 1, and I want to check that my students got the unit. I want to check that they can ask and answer questions, WH questions. So the teacher here has a form to fill in, okay? How can they fill in? They ask each other questions in pairs. So I'll ask them to work in pairs and ask each other questions which are in the form, like what's your name, what's your nationality, okay? And the teacher here goes around the classroom and monitor the students and notice, observe, and write the mistakes or whatever he noticed, okay? After that, he give extra practice if he found that my students have a lot of mistakes. So I give extra practice, drills, repetition, to make sure that they got to the point. And after that, I ask them to do the activity again, okay? Maybe using the same form or changing the form. Yes, and yeah, making questions orally because it's a role play. Yes, yeah, that's right. Because it's a role play, yes. So, yes, they speak in pairs, per work, ask and answer questions about the form, making questions, because this is what I want to review, what I want to check that my students can make questions, okay, WH questions, okay. Yeah, so my question here, why would the teacher do this approach? Why he use test to teach test? I said, why I'll explain.
Evaluate, to evaluate.
Yes, to evaluate or to revise a part in the curriculum, or to revise, for example, a unit or a group of lessons, okay? Okay, what are the benefits here? To test my students, to know what they want to improve and test them again. What are the benefits here? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, what's in the form? Data, like name, nationality, date of birth. Okay, so as if I fill in the form, when I have a form, name, so I'll ask, what's your name? Nationality, what's your nationality? Date of birth, when, where you born, and so on. So like personal information.
That means I collect.
Yes.
Yeah, collect the data from them.
Yeah.
To use it later, or to know something I want to know.
Yeah, that's right. So here I want to.
It's the easy way.
Yeah. So yes, Alia, I wanted to decide what my students already know and what something that they have difficulties or problems. Okay. For example, we have when do you want to start? I noted that my students ask when you want to start. They forgot the auxiliary verb. So my role as a teacher to focus on that. When do you want to start? When do you want to start? So I have to repeat or do drills. This is what I mean, okay? So I make notes of my students' problems or mistakes to make extra practice or drills. Okay, let's check that. Test. Maybe yes. Yeah, maybe yes, Miss Noha. I can decide if my way works with my students or not. Yes. Okay. 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 We have a question here. What would happen if you discover that half of the learners have difficulties with the language, but the other half don't have? The other half of the class don't have. For example, I want to revise or check that my students can form questions. I discovered that half of the students can do that correctly, but the other half can't do that. What would I do?
Okay.
Let the half explain to the other half.
Perfect. Yeah, that's right. I can make, I can ask students who can make questions correctly to give feedback to their colleagues or teach them how to form this question correctly. Yes, thank you, Teresa. Perfect. Yes. Learning, yes, and it will be sense of collaboration. Yes, perfect. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Noha. Yes, that's right. Okay, so this is for the test, teach test. Okay, it works with revising, reviewing, check that what is going well, okay? And it helps teacher to give extra practice of the thing that students need help, okay? It's not a way of teaching. I can't use this to teach.